What is up, casuals, and welcome to the Casual Wrestling Hit List, the show where I, the Notorious NerdyD, wades through the sewers of the IWC to find a top 10 list to tear apart and build back better for the casual wrestling community. The catch is, I can only rebuild the list using the 10 names that the IWC provide for me. If you enjoy the show and have a couple of bucks to toss our way, you can follow the link in the description to donate to the Casual Wrestling Content Fund. If not, that's okay. Sit back and relax. You're about to witness the first ever Casual Wrestling Hit List. So this week's list is another IWC concoction that comes from one of the hot spots of the IWC, which is a website that is called Ranker, where you can go online and groups of people can create top 10 lists by voting on what they think are the best. And this week's top 10 list is going to be a list of the greatest families in pro wrestling history. Now, each one of these families has made a significant contribution to professional wrestling, shaping the industry in various different ways. I have not seen this list yet, so I will experience it for the first time just like you guys. So let's jump right in at number 10. I've pulled up the list. I've copied a little excerpt from each list, and we'll talk about each group that's on this list. So at number 10, we have the Henning Family, which includes Curtis Axel, Larry the Axe, and Mr. Perfect. Known for their in-ring technical skills, the Hennings have left a legacy of high-quality matches. Mr. Perfect was celebrated for his technical prowess and charismatic personality. His father, Larry Axe Henning, was a powerful figure in the ring during the 60s and 70s. And Curtis Axel, it says, continues the family tradition. Does Curtis Axel still wrestle? I don't even know if he still wrestles. He's the only one of this group that I have a lot of experience watching. I've watched a little bit of Mr. Perfect. I know that there is kind of a cult following for Mr. Perfect, so I understand this group making the list. Just initial thoughts, this may feel a little bit high to me. Feels like they could have been deeper into a list that features wrestling families. It feels like Mr. Perfect kind of has a legacy that maybe stands better than the number 10, but I guess you got to keep moving on to see what else is here. Number 9 is the McMahons. This is interesting to see the McMahons at number 9. That includes Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, and they're including Triple H in this family tree here. And it says, as the owners and operators of the WWE, the world's largest wrestling promotion, the McMahons have been instrumental in shaping the modern landscape of professional wrestling. It's good to see him on the list. I think 9 feels a little bit high. When it comes back to my turn to reorder this list, I'm going to assume that that's going to be a much higher ranking as far as closer to number 1. They have number 8 here. They have the Ortons. They're including Bob Orton and Randy Orton. Randy Orton is a multi-time WWE champion known for his charisma and in-ring ability. His father, Cowboy Bob Orton, was a prominent wrestler in the 70s and 80s, known for his rugged style and is a pioneer of the move, the superplex. That's interesting. I didn't know that Bob Orton was one of the creators of the superplex or a pioneer of the superplex. That's a move that's used a lot these days. As a casual fan, it's kind of fun to take a deeper look into things and see kind of the history and the lore of things I didn't know. I have a history with Randy Orton. I know, that's probably one of the wrestlers I'm most familiar with. I don't know much about Bob Orton. So from a casual point of view, I don't know how much influence Bob Orton has on me on a list, but I definitely see why this is on a list of the greatest families. Number 7, we have the Pofos. The Pofos, that includes Angelo, includes the Genius Leaping Lanny, and Macho Man Randy Savage. Now, Macho Man is one of the most colorful and charismatic wrestlers in history, known for his high-flying moves and intense promos. His brother, Leaping Lanny Pofo, and father, Angelo Pofo, also had successful wrestling careers. So that excerpt tells you what you need to know. Macho Man's anchoring this group here. I don't know anything about a brother or a father. So as far as I'm concerned, Macho Man is kind of the leader of the reason they have hit number 7 on this list. Number 6, we have the Funks, which includes Terry, Dory Jr., and Dory Sr. The Funks are renowned for their hardcore wrestling style. Terry Funk is known for his longevity and willingness to participate in extremely physical matches, while Dory Funk Jr. is celebrated for his technical in-ring skills. Yeah, got no problem with the Funks. I mean, WWE recognizes the Funks all the time. I think I think Terry just passed away. Someone just passed away, unfortunately, this past year or two. So I remember they kind of did the big hoorah for that. So, like I said, a lot of these older names as a casual fan, I recognize when I hear the name, but I don't have a recollection of what I should know about these guys. I do know Terry Funk. I remember Terry Funk, especially from all of the hardcore stuff. Number 5, the Von Erichs. That includes Fritz, Kevin, Kerry, David, Mike, Chris, and Lacey. A legendary name in wrestling, the Von Erichs were known for their charisma and tragic history. Fritz Von Erich, the patriarch, was a major star and promoter. His sons, particularly Kerry, Kevin, and David, are heartthrobs and talented wrestlers in their own era. I know there's a movie that just came out about this. I'm going to watch it in the next couple of days. I have a little bit of knowledge about the Von Erichs, being that I'm from Texas, and they were a big deal in the state of Texas. I know my dad could probably tell you a lot more about the Von Erichs, but I know the significance of the Von Erichs in professional wrestling. Number 4, we have the Guerreros. That includes Eddie, Chavo, and Vicky. Eddie Guerrero was one of the most beloved wrestlers due to his charisma and in-ring ability. His uncles and brother also had significant wrestling careers, and Vicky Guerrero became a well-known manager and authority figure in WWE. This is probably the group that I'm most familiar with outside of the top 3. Eddie was Eddie. Eddie was... You talk to some people, Eddie was one of the best to ever do it. And so it's weird to see a list where this group falls to number 4. They may not have as many people to kind of hang their legacy on, but those 3 are pretty strong names. When you talk about Eddie is in the argument for the GOAT. I mean, he's in the argument. I don't think I make the argument, but he's in the argument. And I think Vicky Guerrero is a top 5 manager of all time. So it's hard to see, the top 3 has to be wild in order for that group to fall to number 4, according to the IWC. But the IWC is wild. They'll put this shit. I'm expecting some weird twist here as we get to the end. Number 3, the Reynolds/Rhodes family. Dusty, Cody, and Dustin. Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, was known for his charismatic promos and everyman persona. His sons Cody and Dustin, Goldust, have carried on his legacy, with Cody becoming a major force in the creation of AEW and returning to WWE. Self-explanatory. I mean, this is self-explanatory. Number 3 is wild to me. I don't know where I'm going to put them, but number 3 feels insanely high to me. Number 2, we have the Anoa family. That is High Chief. That is Afa, Sika, Rocky, Tonga, Rikishi, Samu, Yokozuna, The Rock, Umaga, Roman Reigns, the Usos, and more. This extensive family has produced numerous stars, from High Chief Peter Maivia to the modern-day superstars like Roman Reigns and the Usos. They are known for their strong presence, athleticism, and significant contributions to wrestling's evolution. I mean, that list of names speaks for itself. You will be hard-pressed to get me off of just gushing over the Anoa family. But number 1, the number 1 wrestling family by the IWC. This when I see this comes to no surprise for me. And it is the Hart family. Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Stu Hart, Natalya, Jim Neidhart, British Bulldog, and David Hart Smith. The Hart family, led by the patriarch Stu Hart, has a storied history in wrestling. Bret and Owen Hart were renowned for their technical skills and storytelling in the ring. The Hart Dungeon, their training facility, has produced numerous wrestlers, contributing immensely to the industry. That is the most IWC number 1 answer I think we'll probably ever find. The fact that with some of those other families that I read off to you guys, the Harts are the number 1 family in professional wrestling. I cannot buy that. That is hard for me to believe. So that's it. That's top 10. So who do we think was left off that list? Interesting. That's a pretty complete list as far as my wrestling knowledge goes. I don't know that there's any big names that I just thrown. Maybe Rotundas. You could get Bray and Bo in that situation. I don't know if they've earned a spot in the top 10. You have the Colons or the Colons, however you say it. That would be Primo, Epico, what is it, Carlito, some form of that group. And then you have the Briscoes, who I know have a lot of significance in WWE history. But let's talk about, so let's do what we got to do now as casual fans. As the Notorious NerdyD, I have to take that list and I have to make it right, because that is an incorrect list of the history and the legacy of pro wrestling families. So what I'm going to do here now is let's flip this list on top of itself and let's start at number 10. What I do think the IWC got right, where I will agree with IWC, is that number 10 was the Hennings. I just don't have enough history with Mr. Perfect to justify sliding him up a list of names that I do have a lot more familiarity with, and I think I've had more impact on the wrestling building or business. Number 9, I have the Ortons. I think this is a fall compared to where they were on the other list, but this is appropriate for me. I think Randy's legacy speaks for itself, and if you're talking about a list with just Randy on it, that's fine. I don't know enough about Billy Bob Orton to justify moving him up a list that has some heavy hitters. Number 8, I have the Funks. Terry Funk, man, that he's iconic, and the rest of the family was pretty iconic as well. I think, looking at the Ortons and the Hennings, the Funk, that's appropriate for them to fall at number 8. At number 7, I have the Pofos, which would be Macho Man. That's literally just kind of anchored by Macho Man Randy Savage. When you look probably outside the top 5, it's going to be a lot of stuff that has gaps in my wrestling knowledge. So I kind of have to look at the anchor and then what surrounds it and build from there. Number 6, this is surprising to me. I have the Guerreros, which I think I made a comment earlier that they were too low on the list, and now when I look at my list, I think I dropped them even lower after hearing the entirety of everybody the IWC put on the list. Eddie's great, and Vicky is great, but my top 5 is heavy hitters, man. I think my top 5, they can't crack that top 5. So my top 5, at number 5, I have the Hart family, dropping them from the IWC's number 1 spot to the casual number 5 spot. I don't have the same love that the IWC has for the Hart family, for Owen Hart, for Bret Hart. I see the impact they've had on the industry. I know that they are technical beasts. I just don't think that compared to the 4 other families on this list, they just don't have that impact for me. They just don't hit me the same way these others hit me. So that's why at number 4, I have the Von Erich family. And the Von Erichs are just instrumental to wrestling history. Maybe this is Texas biased, right? Maybe this is because I am so close. Maybe this is because the movie just came out. But I do believe that you have to put some respect on the Von Erichs name. And they are definitely in the top 5. And I definitely think they're ahead of the Hart family from my opinion. Now we go to top 3. Top 3 gets interesting. Top 3 is messy because the IWC didn't like what I like here. At number 3, I have the Rhodes Runnels family. Cody, Dusty, and Dustin. And this is not a knock on them. I think I moved them up a spot from what were they? They were 3 on the IWC's list. They're 3 on my list as well. There's just 2 better. That's it. That's what I can say. I love Dusty and I love Cody and I love Dustin, but there's just 2 better. Number 2, the McMahons. How does the IWC put the McMahons? What did they have them? They had them number 9 on the IWC list. I mean, these are the people who have crafted and shaped wrestling to what we know right now. These and on this list, the IWC included Triple H in this, and Triple H has basically reinvigorated wrestling in the last 3 days. And so to not see this list shift, because this is an ever-changing list. You can vote on this list all the time. And so I said, man, when you're talking about importance and legacies, you're talking about Vince McMahon Sr., who's not even listed here. You're talking about Vince McMahon. You're talking about Shane McMahon. You're talking about Stephanie McMahon. That is our childhood. That is our, I mean, they have had such an impact on wrestling. And number 9 is so disrespectful to a family like the McMahons. But number 1, how the IWC, this is the bullshit, hatery fuckery that the IWC does. How the number 1 family is not the Anoa'i family, the Samoans. How are they not number 1 on every list that includes wrestling families? You have arguably the 2 greatest wrestlers of all time on that list. You have Roman Reigns and you have The Rock. Surround that by probably the greatest tag team of all time being the Usos. On top of that, you have Yokozuna, you have Rikishi, you have Afa, you have Peter Maivia, you have you just, there's so much here to talk about. How, I don't understand. High Chief, Afa, Sika, Rocky Johnson, Tonga, Rikishi, Samu, Yokozuna, The Rock, Umaga, Roman Reigns, the Usos. More. There's more. That's just what was listed. How is that number? You can't make an argument. Everything the IWC says is invalid if you don't put The Rock and Roman Reigns at number 1 as far as legacy goes in professional wrestling. You are out of your mind. But if you disagree, let me know in the comments of this video. Let me know what your list is and why. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure to check out all the other shows on the Casual Wrestling Network. Once again, keep it casual, my wrestling friends. I'm out of here.
Oh, baby, why you act so cold?